So you gotta ask yourself, is it possible that Crazy Town invented e-girls? I think it is. What's up, everybody? I'm Finn McKenty. This is the Punk Rock NBA, and today we are here to fight. You know when you're a kid and you would argue about whether like Batman could beat up Aquaman or whatever? I feel like that's kind of how rock fans are about music genres. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if there's been an actual fist fight over whether thrash metal is better than death metal. Like, imagine going to the ER with a concussion and a broken nose and explaining that to the nurse. Well, it all started with this Reddit thread. And I don't want that to happen. Violence is not the answer, my friends. So today, I'm here to settle the debates once and for all by pitting all your favorite genres against each other. Butt rock versus black metal, doom versus hyperpop, rap versus country, and of course, the big question that we're all asking, which is worse, ska or nu metal? Join my Discord, there's a link to that in the description. And with that out of the way, let's get into it. And next up, we have an interesting matchup, butt rock versus black metal. And this is really your classic Virgin versus Chad matchup. So let's start by looking at butt rock. And to be clear, when I say butt rock, I'm talking about bands like Nickelback, 3 Days Grace, Five Finger Death Punch. The kind of stuff that makes you think about lifted trucks with Punisher skulls, those massive Monster energy drinks that have the cap on it that kind of looks like a fire extinguisher or spray paint, and those red state rock festivals called like, Welcome to Rocktown. And you can say what you want about butt rock. Obviously, it's a little bit corny, but here's the thing. The honest truth is that almost everybody watching this likes at least a few butt rock songs. I mean, how can you not sing along to Click, click, So is it corny? Absolutely. But do you secretly love butt rock? Yes, you do. Because it reminds you of all those hours you spent watching trapped AMVs in 240p on vintage YouTube. What it comes down to is that butt rock is music for Chads, and let's be real. Deep down inside, every single one of us wants to be a Chad. And now what about black metal on the other hand? There's a part of me that honestly just kind of feels bad for black metal because it's clearly the most virgin of all genres. It's that strange combination of, like, on the one hand being the bitter, outcast, basement-dwelling cousin of metal genres, but at the same time also being, like, weirdly smug and pretentious. Now, to give the black metal scene some credit, I will say that the imagery and aesthetic is pretty cool. Like those high contrast black and white photos of dudes holding invisible oranges and like howling at the sky. They do look pretty cool. This is why absolutely everybody has ripped it off, right? This is why Bella Porch has a black metal logo, because it looks cool. So I do give them credit where it's due for that. But that's kind of where it ends. I was also going to say something about how black metal has a bigger problem with racism than butt rock. But then I remembered that Nikki Sixx said this.
Fucking kick his ass! How's that feel, you asshole, you fucking
And Kid Rock said this.
You can post this, dick right now. You fucking then with your phones.
So yeah, I think that one might be a tie. But you know what? Butt rock has a cool aesthetic too. I mean, American Fighter shirts, Affliction jeans, and leather wrist cuffs, that's really like butt rock's version of corpse paint and spikes, right? So I think it kind of evens out. So what it comes down to is the music. And here's the thing, black metal has literally 0 hit songs. And I don't mean like a Billboard hit song, I just mean like iconic hit songs within the genre, stuff that everybody knows and can sing along to. Now that might sound weird at first, but think about it. Other extreme genres like death metal, they have hits, for example, Hammer Smashed Face, I would call that a hit single. Or God of Emptiness. But black metal, not so much. There are definitely iconic artists and people in the genre, iconic moments in time, but there isn't really any kind of hit song. There is no black metal equivalent of Raining Blood or Walk. So just to kind of sum it up, you can't use black metal in AMVs, they don't wear Affliction shirts, and they don't play red state rock festivals with 6 a.m. and a Marine Corps recruiting booth with a pull-up contest. So the winner here is obvious, butt rock.
This song goes out to all you guys in khaki shorts.
Pop punk versus djent. Now, in a lot of ways, these genres are actually more similar than you might think. Both of them are popular with socially awkward guys in their 20s who look like this. So how do they stack up? Well, djent, which by the way, if you're not familiar, refers to bands that sound like this. Djent definitely has the better players. It's a very technically sound genre. And as far as the fans go, I would say that they're probably the smartest overall fan base in rock. Lots of engineers and scientists and people like that, which kind of explains the socially awkward part. But I think that is where Djent's advantages end. First of all, in terms of the music itself, pop punk definitely has the stronger songs. I mean, I guess it's cool that djent bands write songs about aliens and pyramids and stuff, but at this point in my life, honestly, I just want some escapism. I just want to hear Tom DeLonge talk about fucking his grandpa. Is that so wrong?
When you fucked Grandpa, did he kiss you soft and tender?
And of course, the most important part of any musical genre, the fashion. I feel like a lot of djent bands are still stuck in that 2017 era where they dress like Knights of the Old Republic NPCs. But pop punk fashion is timeless. Whether we're talking about the 2000s era of the Hurley shirts with Dickies shorts, or the 2012 style with the flannel, khakis, and snapback, either way, I feel like you can dress like that forever and it's gonna be at least socially acceptable. But here's the thing, pop punk has one very, very important thing that you are not gonna find very much of in djent: girls. Djent is just kind of a sausage fest, and that is just not a good thing. You know, it's just nice to be around female energy sometimes, and you're definitely not gonna find much of that at a djent show. And so the winner is pop punk.
Ska defines who I am as a person, and I will never turn my back on ska. Huh! Looking back, I have no regrets.
You should.
And next, the matchup that everybody has been waiting for, ska versus nu metal. Which cringy genre that you liked in high school is better? Let's start with the most important part, the fashion. Ska kids have their fedoras, suspenders, checkerboard Vans, and if you want to go like turbo nerd, their mod suits. Bonus points if the suit is 2 sizes too big because you don't actually own a suit, so you had to borrow it from your dad. And I'm not sure if sideburns are like officially part of the ska look, but I feel like they at least kind of are. And sideburns are just never, ever, ever a good idea for anybody under any circumstances. Like even Ollie Sykes and Justin Bieber are not beautiful enough to pull off sideburns. Now, to be fair, nu metal fashion was pretty goofy too, right? I made a whole video about it. Trip pants with excessive buckles, Adidas tracksuits, fishnet shirts, and worst of all, eyebrow piercings. Eyebrow piercings just did not need to happen. And as for the music, well, I actually think it's a little bit closer than you might think. Now, yes, most ska is just absolute cringe, terrible music, but it did have its moments. I would say Goldfinger still holds up. No Doubt definitely still holds up. Those songs were so good, so big, so timeless that you'll still hear them playing at Macy's. Although I have to say, it is a little bit weird to hear a Sublime song about being addicted to heroin playing while you're shopping for socks. And how about nu metal, everybody's favorite, which is not actually as good as you might have remembered. Obviously, we all know the big names like Korn, Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park, and Slipknot, and those are all great artists, so it's tempting to think that nu metal was a lot better than it actually was. Because remember that for every Slipknot, there were like 500 Methods of Mayhems. And yes, he did say shootin' my jizzy jizzle. So if you asked me this question in 2002, I might have said that both were equally cringe. But in 2021, the answer is clear. For one, nu metal fashion is officially cool again. Just check out TikTok, all the cool girls on there look like the girl on the cover of the Crazy Town album. So you gotta ask yourself, is it possible that Crazy Town invented e-girls? I think it is. And the same is true of the music. Every metalcore band now pretty much sounds like an updated version of Linkin Park. All the big bands that are still around sell tons of albums and tickets. We've got millions of Spotify listeners. As much as we all laughed at nu metal back in the day, its legacy is clear. People love it. Whereas with ska, well, really the most compelling thing you could probably say is that 100 Gex have a kind of semi-ironic ska part in their song Stupid Horse. I think ska just kind of doesn't really have much of a legacy. And so the winner here is obvious by unanimous decision, nu metal. And next up, we have rap versus country. And you might ask why I would match these two genres up, because what do they have to do with each other? And how can you even just say rap or country? Because aren't there like 500 subgenres of each of those? That is true, but there must be at least something in common, right? Because don't we all know that guy from high school who said, "I listen to everything except for rap and country"? So clearly there is some link between the two. Because how could that guy be wrong? On the one hand, we have rap, which I would say is easily the most popular and influential genre of the last 25 or 30 years. I would say that pretty much ever since The Chronic came out back in 91 or 92.
1, 2, 3 into the 4. Snoop Doggy Dogg and Dr. Dre is at the door.
Youth culture has been increasingly dominated by rap and hip hop culture. And I have to say, as much as I love rap, I'm not sure that that is an entirely good thing. Like, seeing my 13-year-old niece sing along to this at my sister-in-law's wedding is a little bit concerning. That really happened, by the way. I love the Yin Yang Twins, but maybe not at weddings. Now, what about country? At this point in my life, I'm trying to be a fan of like Walmart pop country. Don't laugh, I'm serious. I mean, what's not to like about that stuff? Basically just pop with a little bit of a twang. And the songs are about nice G-rated stuff, like hanging out with your family down by the river after a hard day of work, or how much you love your wife. Like, compare this
Percocet, Miley Percocet, chase a chick, never chase a bitch.
to this.
What's your dream job, girl? Where's your hometown? Yeah, what makes your world spin around and around?
I love rap on a musical basis, but honestly, I just can't in good conscience endorse a lot of the values and lifestyles that come along with it, not to mention all the violence. And in all seriousness, I genuinely do vibe with country lyrics. Like, that is where my life is at this point. The only problem I have is that I'm not quite sure that I can commit to the fashion yet. As much as I want to embrace the American fighter aesthetic, just not sure that I'm there yet. Maybe someday. And then there's the curious case of hick hop.
Can't shoot a gun, bait a hook, bake a cook, you city bitch. Obama love it, ain't seen me up and I'm gon' mud in city bitch.
Which is basically if you combined the most cringe parts of rap and country into one guy named after a brand of gas station caffeine pills. You know what? Forget I said anything. I think let's just pretend that genre doesn't exist. I think that would be better for everybody. And so with all that said, we have a narrow decision win on our hands. All three judges score this bout 29-28 for the winner, country. And next up, a somewhat less epic clash, but still interesting, neo-thrash versus whatever you want to call like Greta Van Fleet dad rock. Which of these two uninspired revivals is better? And for anybody who's not familiar, when I say neo-thrash, I'm talking about bands like Municipal Waste and Toxic Holocaust, who basically cosplay as 80s thrash bands with the white high tops and headbands and all that. Obviously not the most like creatively inspired stuff in the world. They pretty much just covered an entire genre. But to be fair, I do think they do it well. I mean, honestly, I think they might be better than the majority of the original thrash bands. So I gotta give them credit for that. And in the other corner, we have Greta Van Fleet, who are essentially a Led Zeppelin cover band. And I would say that they also do their thing pretty well, but what it comes down to is that neither one of them are bringing a lot to the table creatively. There's not a lot of new ideas here. Both involve a lot of tight jeans and riffs that you could swear you've heard somewhere before, but I think I have to give this one to Greta Van Fleet. It's definitely not the most creatively exciting thing in the world, but they do have 3 million Spotify listeners, so I would say the tail of the tape speaks for itself. The dads have spoken. And next up, we have what I think is one of the most interesting matchups on this card, Doom versus hyperpop. This is a true clash of the generations. We have Doom and stoner rock and all those other Black Sabbath inspired genres representing the ultimate in boomer energy. I mean, you listen to this stuff and all you can think about is your uncle who smokes a lot of weed, drives a van, has a denim vest, and refuses to get a smartphone. Bands like Sleep or Electric Wizard, for example. And on the other hand, we have hyperpop, which, if you're not familiar, is artists that sound like this.
I'm sipping on exotic, don't ask me where I got it. I buy expensive products and I just got me some products.
The other day, somebody in the comments of my hyperpop video said something like, what the fuck is this shit? Is this like autistic teenagers making music on laptops that have never touched a guitar in their lives? And I said, yes, that is literally exactly what it is, and that's why it's great. Like, I'm imagining some doom stoner dad who tried his hardest to get his kid into Black Sabbath and Candlemass, only to come home one day and the kid's like, oh, hey dad, I made a song, do you want to check it out? And he presses play on this.
I wish we never met. We broke up on pickup chat, crying on my DS.
And the dad is just crushed. I tried so hard to raise you right, and then you turn out like this? Where did I go wrong? And what the hell happened to the other 98 gecs? I only see 2 of them. So really what it comes down to here is that we have the ultimate boomer genre versus the ultimate zoomer genre. And although doom is cool and I love Candlemass, I think the right move for those of us who are a little bit older is to step aside and let the younger generation do their thing. You don't want to get in the way, let the kids have their fun. And so with that in mind, I think we have to give this one to hyperpop, but maybe it's time to create a masters division for boomer genres like doom, thrash, and punk to compete in.
Try to relax your anus.
And next up, EDM versus indie rock. And let me be clear, when I say EDM here, what I'm talking about is not Square Pusher and Aphex Twin or whatever. I'm talking about the 2013 Big Room Vegas EDM for fist-pumping bros with an 8-pack who just want to go to Vegas over spring break, pay $150 for some fake Molly, and rage for 3 days before going back to school, and telling all their friends how epic it was, and probably also discovering that they may have caught herpes. I'm talking about the kind of stuff that has that super predictable cadence of rise and drop every 16 bars that you can see coming a mile away. Go, here comes the drop. But if you're that bro, you don't give a shit. Every single drop is the coolest thing that you have ever heard in your entire life. So I'm not talking about minimal house or whatever, or any of the other genres of electronic music for nerds with beards and glasses who are spending their weekend going through Splice sample packs instead of raging at the club laying pipe. That is the virgin techno versus the Chad generic Vegas EDM. And speaking of virgins, that brings us to indie rock. When I say indie rock, what comes to mind for you? I don't know, probably guys with bad posture dressed like they're Amish playing banjos, maybe like Volkswagens with NPR stickers on them, and people sitting around some dive bar drinking craft beer acting like they're too cool for everything. And look, I'm not saying that those Vegas EDM bros are great role models or anything, or that you should go out there and get herpes. Definitely don't do that. But at least they let themselves live a little, right? I mean, if you're watching this, I would say there's a very good chance that you probably get in your own head a little bit more than you need to. I know I certainly did. I was so uptight. I never just like let myself relax and have fun. All I did was just make my life a lot less enjoyable. So don't make the same mistake that I did. If you are like that, my advice is maybe just channel a little bit of that Vegas bro. I think you'll be glad that you did. And so with all of that being said, the winner here is obvious, EDM. And last, but definitely not least, we have the ultimate showdown, technical brutal death metal versus brutal technical death metal. And as much as I'd love to get into this, honestly, I just don't think I have time in this video. I think the maximum length that YouTube allows for videos is 10 hours, and that is not even close to the amount of time I would need to explain the differences between the two, let alone crown a winner. I mean, how can you possibly compare artists as wildly diverse as Deeds of Flesh and Disgorge? All right, my friends, that does it for this video. Let me know what you think of my results in the comments. Friendly reminder that I do read all of them. Before I let you go, I wanted to mention my Discord. There's a link to that in the description. Join it now if you haven't. Almost 3,000 cool people in there. And also, as always, I want to thank everyone who supports us on Patreon, especially those of you who support at the True Cult level or above. It is because of your support that I am able to do a lot of things, for example, the podcast. So I'm genuinely grateful for that. Patrons get every episode of the podcast a week early. There's a members only private Discord that I'm in all the time. I started doing some giveaways and patron only Q&As. There's a way to have me review your music or artwork or anything else you want to get my eyes or ears on. So if that sounds cool, you can support us on Patreon at the link in the description. And with that, I'm going to sign off for now, but I will see you next time.